All right. So we're kind of at stage 3 of our typography portrait project here, which is exciting. The first day I saw you, we picked the picture, we cropped the person's head and made them fit on our printer paper. And we broke them down into the 5 values of black and white and 3 grays. Okay? And then yesterday we talked a little bit about fonts. We talked a little bit about font choices, and we made a brush tip. So yesterday I think we were pretty off balance. So let's review about how to make a word brush tip, okay? We should still have this document where I typed up all of the words I want to use on my project. So I need to select a word. What tool in my toolbox did I use to select a word? The second one, that dotted box. And if yours is like a circle or something, just hold it and you'll use the dotted box, okay? I'll do S and O. I draw a box around it, okay? And now I need to make a brush called the brush preset. So where do I go? Up here. Edit. Yeah, about define brush preset, a little more than halfway down. And you could call it what it is, or you could just press OK. So I have most of them done, which is good. So if you did all your brush tips today, which hopefully you did, that would be great. And then we're going to start filling in the face, which is exciting. I think it's easiest for us to start with just black today. You may have a ton of black in your picture. You may have very little black in your picture. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter either way. The first thing I want to do, though, is we probably just have one layer, and I'm just going to call it the Jimmy layer, which is his head. And I'm going to hit this little padlock so I don't I don't accidentally make any edits on that layer. Okay? So I'll make a new layer, and I'm going to call that one black because that's what we're dealing with today. Okay? So it's new and it's blank. But before I do anything, we'll go back to the Jimmy layer, and I need to select an area of the black value. So what's a big area I could work on first? Excellent. So I'm going to just use my magic wand, select my hair. That works out pretty well. If you're having a problem selecting stuff, you could adjust the tolerance at the top to a really low number like 5 and hit enter. It just makes the tool a little bit more selective, I guess. So I selected Jimmy's black hair. I'm going to hide Jimmy. You can see the outline. And click on the black layer. Now, all the work I'm going to do today when I fill in my person with text is going to be with my paintbrush, which I know we don't use a ton. So when you go to that drop down to look at all the different paintbrushes you have, all the different varieties, they should appear at the bottom like this. So if you name the brush tip, it's a little easier to see, of course, like that. So I'll use the Jimmy Fallon one first. I want to make sure it's set to black. Oh, that's good. It's probably going to be gigantic, so we can shrink it down a little bit like that. And let's talk about like a good way to start placing our text. So if you look at the ones on the wall, we'll look there for a moment. How would you describe the distance between each word? Pretty close to each other. Fair enough. Okay. I know because they're a little farther away, it's hard to say. Let me see if I can open it on here. One moment. So do you think there's any like overlapping of words? Not really. We really don't want to overlap or like just click like crazy. We kind of want to resist the urge, even though, believe me, it's easy to just sit there and be like, click, click, click. So if you're looking at the Donald Glover one here, yeah, there really isn't any overlapping. We try not to. Not purposely, at least. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to try and make it look really good on one side and really bad on one side and tell me what works and what doesn't work. All right. So some of your words are going to be cut off, and I totally get that. And you can vary your size too. But the cool part is, like, especially if I just do this, what do you notice outside of the dotted lines? Nothing. Fantastic. It disappears, which is really cool. So if we don't have that selection, then we kind of, the brush doesn't really know where to stop. Okay. I think my brush tip is super gigantic now. That's probably why I can't see it. So if you can't see your brush tip, you could shrink it down. Do you remember what keys on my keyboard I hit to shrink or increase? The brackets, which is by like the P letter. Good. So I'm just taking my time. Right now, you're probably like, it's a little fuzzy. I don't think it looks awesome. Totally agree with you. But I'm also at 200%. So when I zoom out to 100%, it looks pretty good. So my big rule of thumb is to just keep my text relatively close to the last word I did. And if it's not showing up, it's a little too light for you. Sometimes I just click more than once, especially if it's like a really light font like this one. So I'll probably do that. Try and go over that one. All right. And on the other side, let's mess up and make it terrible in a second. Just give me a minute and we can make it terrible. Ooh. All right. So it's one of those things where you just take your time, no rush. It'll be fine. Some of the words are cut off. Is that okay? Yeah, exactly. It's just probably not going to be possible to get every word clear on there. So I'm starting to fill in the area and I'm trying to keep it really organized. Okay. Let's make this side really terrible. Ready? Okay, let's see how you make it really terrible. All right, let me go use another word. Some people like to separate different sections by different words. That's fine with me too. Really depends on your project. Okay, let's talk about everything I did wrong that's terrible on the right-hand side. Talk to me. What did I do a terrible job with? There's a lot of overlapping. Good. What else?
It's not really balanced.
It's not really balanced. Good. Can you extend on that? Because you're totally right.
You have a lot of, since it overlaps, there's darker colors at the top and then lighter at the bottom.
Good. So I want to feel kind of like a balance between some of the bold fonts and the not bold fonts too. Excellent. And this drives me insane. This kind of like draggy effect. Oh, it just looks so messy. So we don't want to do that. And if you ever make like a super terrible mistake, you could go in with an eraser too. Or use like your history and step back a little bit if you ever make a terrible mistake. Okay. Now let's say I finish the hair, we'll pretend. So I'll click back on our friend Jimmy and I'll go for like an eyeball. Sometimes you'll select, and this happens to me too, and I'll notice it doesn't select the area I want. So just try and click it again. It may happen to you. So don't worry. If you have like a sliver like this nostril region here, and I'm trying to get that little piece of nostril, if it's a tiny little speck and you can't select it, trust me. If it's like that little black speck on his nose, you could let it go and you don't have to put the black there, okay? But if you have a little something like this, I'm trying to select the little black spot. Yep, I had it. There we go. If you have a little speck of an area like that, you're probably not going to see a real word in there. So if it's something really small and you just want to go in and you want to color it solid like that, maybe those little creases in his eyes, little shadows like that, I would even say your eyeballs would be a good one to go kind of solid on, unless they have like an obscene amount of makeup on. I would make sure you can just color those guys in. Okay. So, especially those features, they're really important. The biggest screw up that we can make is that we accidentally use our paintbrush on the Jimmy layer and not the blank one. So that's the only thing we want to make sure we're doing, that we're always on the same layer. So I'll click on Jimmy, click on an area I want to work on, like this eyeball, hide Jimmy, go back to the black layer, and fill it in. Okay. So it's starting to come together. It'll be a little kind of eerie looking today, but it will start to come together, which will be very nice. Okay. So whether you only have a little bit of black space or you have a ton of black space, please just do black today. Don't hop to the grays quite yet because it's kind of the same, but it's a little bit different. And I don't want you to just guess the grays. Okay. Any questions coming to mind so far? All right, cool. Let's do it. I'll post the video.